Bizarre Egyptian customs exposed. Strap yourselves in, time travelers, because we're about to embark on a mind-bending journey to ancient Egypt, where menstruating men, yes, you heard that right, and mind-boggling customs are stealing the show. In the land of mysteries and wonders, ancient Egypt boasts a treasure trove of bizarre practices that still captivate us today. From their elaborate rituals surrounding death and the afterlife, to the worship of their mythical gods and goddesses, the ancient Egyptians had a unique way of life that sets them apart from any other civilization in history. In today's video, we will peel back the layers of time, unveiling the hidden and fascinating practices of ancient Egypt that have been shrouded in secrecy for centuries. Get ready to be mesmerized by peculiar rituals and enchanting ceremonies as we uncover the secrets behind the practices of one of the most fascinating civilizations in human history. Stick around until the end as we unravel the whys behind these practices that shaped the captivating world of the pharaohs. So, without further ado, let the journey through time commence. Egypt Unveiled. The history of ancient Egypt, one of the world's oldest civilizations, spans from around 3100 BCE, when Upper and Lower Egypt were unified under King Narmer, to 30 BCE, marking the death of Cleopatra VII, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty. While we commonly recall ancient Egypt for its iconic monuments, fixation on the afterlife, mummies, and diverse collection of gods and goddesses, there's a fascinating hidden side to their beliefs, a secret stash of practices that didn't quite make it to the mainstream. Like, for example, did you know that in ancient Egypt, it was common for wealthy individuals to keep pet crocodiles in their homes and temples? Yes, you heard that right. While we're well aware of Egypt's love for cats, it turns out pet crocodiles were also a thing. Because nothing complements your home decor like a scaly companion sprawled on your Egyptian carpet, right? These reptiles, associated with the god Sobek, aka the crocodile god, were considered sacred, and temples dedicated to Sobek went above and beyond to pamper these scaly friends. Pamper how, you wonder? We're talking crocodiles feasting on choice cuts of meat and honey cakes in a time when common folk were content with mere bread and wine. And that's just the beginning. They were decked out in jewelry fit for royalty and had their own specially crafted pools or ponds to relax and cool off in the scorching Egyptian heat. Now, when the time came for these esteemed companions to depart this world, be it by natural death or sacrifice to please their gods, their owners didn't just bid them farewell with a tear and a shovel. Oh no, these crocs got the VIP treatment and underwent a unique mummification process involving oils, resins, and linen wraps. Because why not ensure your crocodile is preserved in style for the afterlife? After this elaborate process, they found their final resting place in a tomb or a dedicated burial site where people would come to pay their respects and seek blessings from the god Sobek. Clearly, ancient Egyptians knew how to take pet ownership to the next level. Now let's move on to our feline friends, shall we? It's no secret that the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with cats and worshipped them. But here's a jaw-dropping fact you might not know. Cats were so precious to the Egyptians that the penalty for killing one, even by mistake, might we add, was none other than death itself. Yes, you heard that right. That's how highly revered and valued these feline companions were. Here's an example to prove our point further. Legend has it that during the Battle of Pelusium that occurred in 525 BCE between the Persians and Egyptians, the Persians supposedly used cats as living, breathing shields. Ingenious, right? The Egyptians, being the ultimate cat worshippers, couldn't bring themselves to harm these sacred beings. So what did they do? Retreat, of course, paving the way for the Persians to conquer Egypt. The consequences were catastrophic, to say the very least. Not only did the Persians seize control, but the battle resulted in significant casualties, including the demise of the pharaoh himself. And then there were the baboons, Egypt's answer to police dogs, with a touch of unconventional flair. Hieroglyphs, aka ancient Egyptian writing, tell tales of baboons on leashes being used by Egyptian authorities, almost like the police dogs of today. Talk about an unconventional security measure. But it's not all about law enforcement. Baboons were also trained in picking fruit, making beer, and even dancing. These intelligent primates were even thought to be symbols of protection and were often associated with the god Thoth, who was considered the god of the moon and wisdom. And for those seeking a peculiar museum experience, the British Museum in London proudly houses EA6736, the baboon mummy, because who wouldn't want to see an Egyptian primate preserved for all eternity? Speaking of mummies, the ancient Egyptians had a unique way of mourning the death of a loved one. They would hire professional mourners representing the goddesses Isis and Nephthys. These mourners are exclusively women without children. Their body hair was shaved, and the names of Isis and Nephthys were inscribed on their shoulders. Their expressions of grief were intense, to say the least, from wailing to tearing clothes and even scratching their faces, all to honor the departed. Because what's grief without a touch of theatricality, right? Now let's shift gears to the fascinating story of creation in ancient Egypt. Did you know that in ancient Egypt, ejaculation was considered a holy act? So here's the thing. Atum, the creator god, brought the world into existence through a unique process involving ejaculation and spitting out saliva. This combination formed the first gods and goddesses, making male ejaculation a crucial symbol of the source of life for the ancient Egyptians. Because nothing says divine like a combination of divine bodily fluids, right? A bit unconventional, but hey, who are we to judge? And so there's speculation that the pharaohs took this belief a little too seriously and performed ceremonies to express gratitude. How exactly, you wonder? Well, they would head to the riverbank, where they'd engage in a ritual involving ejaculation to ensure that the semen followed the flow of the river's waters. This act was seen as a positive omen, symbolizing the cycle of life, fertility, and the universal order. Now let's talk about ancient pregnancy testing. Back in 1350 BCE, ancient Egyptian women had a unique way of determining pregnancy. They peed on barley. Here's how it worked. Women would pee on barley and wheat seeds for a few days, and if the seed sprouted, congratulations, she was declared pregnant. But that's not all. The ancient Egyptians took it a step further and even determined the gender using the same method. If barley seed sprouted, it was believed to be a girl, and if wheat seed sprouted, it indicated a boy on the way. Who needs fancy pregnancy tests when you have the reliable germination of grains as your diagnostic tool? They even had a rather bizarre way of figuring out if a woman was fertile or not. This was done by inserting garlic into the vagina and observing if the female's breath smelled of garlic the next day. If it did, they believed she was fertile. But that's not all. Brace yourselves for a surprising contraceptive method that dates back to around 1800 BC. Egyptian women, in an incredibly creative yet unconventional move, used a mixture of crocodile dung and fermented dough, which they applied to their vulvas or even inserted into their vaginas to block sperm. Unusual? Absolutely. And guess what? Men weren't exempt from these creative contraceptive measures either, and their method wasn't any more appealing. The secret weapon against unwanted fatherhood for the gentlemen of ancient Egypt was rubbing onion juice on the foreskin. Yep, because if there's one thing that's proven to keep things at bay, it's the pungent aroma of onions. Oh, and get this. In ancient Egypt, they believed men menstruated. Confused? Don't worry, we got you. You see, in ancient Egypt, the prevalence of schistosomiasis, a parasitic infection causing symptoms like blood in urine and stool, was so widespread that they didn't recognize it as a disease. Instead, they accepted it as a normal part of life, leading them to believe that men, like women, experienced menstruation. Peeing blood, which was a symptom of schistosomiasis, was even viewed as somewhat positive. To them, it indicated that the man was fertile and ready to start a family. Ancient logic at its finest. But hey, it's not all bizarre. The Egyptians were ahead of their time in medicine. Did you know that they were early adopters of antibiotic therapy? Yes. Historical evidence suggests that around 2000 BCE, they used moldy bread as a treatment for wounds. The reasoning behind this practice lies in the natural antibiotic properties of certain molds, similar to penicillin. So a poultice made from moldy bread was applied to wounds as a form of early antibiotic therapy that could inhibit bacteria from growing. It's impressive, isn't it? The ancient Egyptians also valued dental health, and evidence of dental practices have been found in archaeological remains, including the use of toothpicks and tooth powder. They would even use ox hooves, ashes, burnt eggshells, and pumice as materials to maintain dental hygiene. Now, despite their advancements, there was one persistent problem they couldn't quite shake: lice. Ever wondered why Egyptians were often depicted as bald or wearing wigs? Well, it turns out lice were a widespread issue in ancient Egypt. Even the tombs of Egyptian rulers are found to be infested with lice, making it clear that these tiny pests were a prevalent concern. To combat this itchy invasion, Egyptians went full-on deforestation mode, shaving every bit of hair off their bodies. Well, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of the untold side of Egyptian culture. If you found these revelations as captivating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more historical insights, and ring that notification bell. Stay tuned for more captivating stories and deep dives into the mysteries of our shared history. Until next time, keep exploring the wonders of the past.